And last is using creating a psychic yes or no, or using a meter. And in my psychic school, the way we would do this is we would close our eyes, and you would imagine that you have like a screen in front of you. There's a little bit more to doing a psychic reading that I initially learned, but you can imagine that in front of you, maybe 6 inches in front, is what we would call a reading screen. And you would imagine that this screen is there and that there's a rose on it. A rose is a powerful psychic tool. It's used by many psychics across time and space, and so it does have a little bit of an elevated vibration to it. And you can imagine that there's a rose there, and you can ask the rose to show you what a yes looks like. Typically, the rose is going to bloom more or kind of grow and sprout. And then you can ask the rose to show you what a no looks like, and this is going to usually be that it dies. Now, if you do not have a strong visual sense yet, this won't work for you. I learned this in a clairvoyant school, so visual representation was very important. And we're really using just the imagination, but the only difference is rather than us creating the imagination, we set the space, we imagine a rose is there, and then after that we become observer to the rose by being center of head and noticing what changes. And it's a great starting point for you, but I wouldn't use it to make big decisions. If you're not able to visualize very strongly, I've noticed a lot of people seem to have more atrophy with their visualization skills these days, and that's just how it is. As you practice more, as you develop these senses more, it can be very useful for you, but you don't need to even have this in your tool belt to get good answers. I think body as a tool is the most helpful. But you would ask the rose, show me a yes or show me a no, and then you would use a question that can start giving you answers. So, is this person someone useful for me on my journey? Is this person in energetic alignment for me? And this can begin to give you answers that way. Now, similarly, you can imagine a meter. So you would have, this is sort of like a screen, just like a projector would have a screen it puts an image on. That's what we're doing here. You can imagine, again, a screen in front of you, and on this blank screen, on this blank canvas, is a meter. And the meter has a little dial on it that goes between 0 and 100. And what I've done when I'm making decisions, even some big decisions, and I said, how much in alignment is this decision with me? And the meter will go somewhere between 0 and 100. And what I found useful about this is we don't need to be fully in alignment with every part of somebody or something in order to get use from it. This is where discernment becomes even more powerful, where we can start setting a container powerful enough and say, okay, I will receive what's useful for me. I will leave the rest behind. We're going to get into the cover your ass stuff later on this. But you can imagine a meter. Just imagine it in front of you and then say, show me the energetic alignment of this on a scale of 0 to 100 for me in my current life. And then watch the meter move back and forth. And then usually it will get to a certain point. Now, some people even do this with pendulums. Again, pendulums I use, but I don't take too seriously. Again, or I'll use it, but then I'll also tune into my body and see, does my body agree with what the pendulum is saying? And if it doesn't, then I'm going to choose my body over the pendulum, or I'm going to stay open to what is coming through for possible guidance. But with the pendulum, what a person will do is say, is it between 50 and 100? And the pendulum will give them a yes or a no. Okay, if you get a yes, is it between 75 or 100? Maybe you get a no there. Okay, is it between 75 and 65? You'll get a yes or a no. And you can keep dialing it in until you get a specific number. And of course, at any point, if you get no, you'll move back. But the pendulum technique is just a process of trial and error. So you start with a scale, 0 to 100. First, you cut it halfway at the 50 point, and you're either going to get a yes, it's here, or yes, it's here. And then from there, you're going to go halfway again to about 75, and then find out which quadrant it's in. Then you'll go roughly halfway until you whittle your way down to a specific number. You don't usually need to go all the way. It's just you're trying to get a general sense of, is this in alignment with you? Is it not? And then you'll have to make the decision of how in alignment does it need to be. I made a decision recently, where it was only 60% in alignment with me. It still is a good decision. I had to recognize, though, that when I was let down, that certain things weren't working out the way I wanted them to. It's because I knew going in there was going to be 40% of things that weren't going to work for me or weren't going to be right for me. So was I willing to go in knowing that? And I didn't have perfect clarity of what 60% was going to be right for me, but that was a decision I made. And it ended up working out well as long as I have those expectations set properly. So hopefully this is helpful. Again, we can get really into the nuance, into the details, but I just wanted to provide you with options. I, again, really like Body as a tool.